Hey guys, it's Faye from SolarFlow and I am back with a new video. Today's topic is a deep dive behind the veil energy read on all things soul related. So this is, if you will, everything you wanted to know about your soul but were afraid to ask. And we are going to be exploring themes such as, what is a soul? Why did my soul choose to come here to the earth plane? Why is my memory wiped in between each incarnation? What is a soul contract? What is a soul lesson? Can I still have free will in the presence of a soul contract? And lastly, we're going to finish by looking into the afterlife. So if this sounds good to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. Now, I'm also going to say that all of the information shared herein would be wonderful to share with anybody that you know that is first waking up to spirituality, or if they are waking up to their soul's purpose and their soul's mission, and they just want to kind of learn a little bit more about it. Maybe you know somebody that's going through a really hard time, and maybe the information shared herein will help lighten their load a little bit more. With that in mind, let's dive in. So, the way that this video has been laid out is chronological, if you will, where we are following the evolution of a soul from prior to their incarnation through their lifetime and into the afterlife as well. So even though there are going to be timestamps down below, and you are welcome, of course, to hop around, I am going to encourage you to watch it all the way through, as it is laid out, if you will, chronologically like a story, and each segment is designed to make sense to the segment that follows it thereafter. So I'm really going to encourage you guys to watch it all the way through. Okay, so in case you were wondering, what is your soul? Your soul is the eternal part of you that does not die. Your soul is eternal. Your soul is only being housed in your body. And when any particular body dies, that soul goes on. The soul does not die with the body. The body dies, the soul does not. Look at it this way. You put your foot into a shoe. Let's say you have a favorite pair of shoes. At some point, that shoe is going to be worn down. At some point, that shoe may start to fall apart. So you're just going to switch out your shoes. Just because you throw away the shoe doesn't mean your foot gets thrown away with it. No, your foot just goes into another shoe. It's exactly the same way with the soul and a body. The body will die. The soul is eternal. Now, the soul is also connected to the divine. It is directly connected to God. So in each and every one of us, our soul resides, and our soul also has a spark of godliness with it, because our souls come from God. We are pieces of God in three-dimensional bodies. So, why would a soul choose to come to the earth plane? Because I don't know anyone that has had a completely easy or perfect life. We all have varying degrees of ease and varying degrees of difficulty. But that is by design. And to be here, to be on the earth plane, is energy that is akin to being in quicksand. It's very, very heavy, it's very, very dense, it's very, very thick. And on top of it, we have bodies. Because there are places in the universe where it's no bodies, it's just pure energy. It's, if you will, imagine a wind coming along, picking up a leaf, and just transporting it from one place to another. It's as easy as the wind blowing. It's not like that here because we have bodies. So our souls are compressed into a body. It's like that person you know that doesn't want to wear shoes. They want their feet to breathe all the time. And even in the wintertime, they remorse at the fact that they cannot go barefoot. I have to put my foot into a sock and then from a sock into a boot. I want my foot to be free. So it is where the soul has been, because the soul is boundless. The soul is not just eternal, but the soul is also expansive and free and boundaryless. And then it is being put into a body that has boundaries and borders and restrictions and limitations. So it feels very much like being squashed in. It's, again, taking that foot, but you're trying to squash it into a pair of shoes that's one size too small. You really have to try to push and squish and turn it and twist it and to get it in. And that is very much the experience that the soul has once it's in the body. It wants to be free and it wants to be boundless, and it has now been squashed into a body. So why do we have bodies? We have bodies here because this is a heavy, dense energy. And the soul itself, being boundless and being free-loving, would not be an energetic match for the compression here on Earth. So we have a protective outer layer, if you will, known as a body. So the energy here, very heavy, very, very dense. That's why we need bodies to be here. So why in the world would a soul choose to come here? And it is exactly for those reasons. Because it is so dense, because it is so heavy, souls choose to come here because this is the place where you come to have experiences that you will have no place else in the universe. For exactly those reasons. So it's, imagine, if you will, somebody who has never used a scrub, like a body wash, or a scrub to like slough off like the dead skin cells, how their skin would feel, versus somebody that is very well acquainted with not just the body washes and the body scrubs, but the moisturizers and all the lotions and the potions. The difference in how the body will feel. It might feel rough, it might feel unrefined, and then you have the body that's into the lotions and potions, it's a little bit softer. So the interesting thing is, whereas we might think that life is so hard, it causes us to become someone that we might not have thought ourselves to have been through all of the experiences that we have endured. It is actually through all of those experiences that we endure here that we are refined and that our soul can have different levels of growth and expansion that it would not have otherwise. And how do souls even know about this earth plane, that they would even think about wanting to come here? And it is because the earth plane is, if you will, kind of like the Wild West back in the day. It is still spoken about in other parts of the universe in such a way. From other souls that have graduated from the earth plane and have ultimately moved on, the way that they talk about it is like it's the Wild West. So imagine you are at a cafe or at a Starbucks and you're having coffee and you're planning a summer trip to Greece. And at the table next to you, you hear people who just came back from their Greece vacation. And you start conversing with them and you're like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I just overheard you came back from Greece. I'm going to Greece. Can you share any tips? Like, what's a great hotel to go to? What are some not to miss destinations? What would my trip not be complete with if I didn't go and see it? And then they're going to share with you their itinerary and the hotel they stayed at and what was great and like what was a hit and what was a miss. It's kind of like that with the souls when they're getting together in, cosmic coffee shops. And the souls that have been here and have already graduated from their soul's reincarnation and their journey here, they talk about it the same way. You got to check out this earth place. It's insane. So we have these bodies, and it's weird because like you're squashed into it, but like on the same hand, while you feel compressed, you're actually limitless and boundless because like we're just like pure source positive energy. We can do anything, but like we feel restricted because we're in these bodies, and then like the energy there is so dense and it's so heavy. And then like the wildest thing is like we just think we're living our lives, and then through living our lives, we're actually like accumulating this thing called karmic shit. And then when we die, we have to come back in future incarnations, and then we have to right the wrongs, or we get to collect the positive karmic shit that we've accumulated. But here's the thing, like we actually forget from lifetime to lifetime, like your memory is wiped. So you forget from lifetime to lifetime, like what you did, what you've come back to make amends with, what like are the benefits and the goodies that you're going to collect on, and you have no memory of it. It's wild, man. This earth place, it's off the chains. So like you might want to go to Greece and you might want to have like a lovely vacation, but here's the thing, man. If you want to have that unforgettable experience, like soul experience, like the way we might look at like going to like a Russian gulag, you want to go to Earth. Because Greece is beautiful. You can always have that beautiful Greece experience. But you want to have the off-the-chain soul experience where you will discover different facets and different parts of yourself and different elements of your soul. You want to go to Earth for that. Earth is where the souls come to have the experiences they cannot have anyplace else in the universe. This is it. We all choose to come here for those experiences. We are not, if you will, pinballs dropped into a pinball machine, getting knocked around with no control over our lives. We are actually the cosmic architects of the experiences that we choose to have here, but not the very, very first one. Now, this is the way our very, very first incarnation was shown to me. And I'm actually, it's funny, even though I had just said a second ago, like, we're not pinballs just dropped into a pinball machine, I'm actually going to use that as an example because it kind of applies here. So imagine, if you will, that there's a player. And the player, for every game at the pinball machine, they have 3 pinballs that they can play with. They have 3 lives, if you will. So the pinballs are lined up and they're getting ready to be dropped in. But they have seen all of the other pinballs that have gone before them. So they're watching this and they're like, whoa, this is crazy. Check out the adventures that we're gonna have in that lifetime. Check it out. Like, we're gonna be dropped into it and then we're just gonna kind of be like floating around, and then out of nowhere, like, there's gonna be this thing that's gonna like hit us and it's gonna like whack us into something. And then from that, we're gonna get whacked into something else. And then we're gonna spin around and then we're gonna go here and we're gonna get whacked again. So all of the things that we might look at as potential, trials and tribulations, like the hardships that we have here, those pinballs or those souls getting ready to be dropped in, they have the elevated vantage point where they are seeing it like it's one big adventure. And that's kind of the way that it was shown to me. There are these sparks of light lined up, and they are watching the other sparks of life in queue before them, getting dropped in to a body, into a baby at the time that a baby is born. And because there's no time on the other side, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 50 years, 500 years, all feel like the exact same amount of time on the other side. So they're watching the soul that got dropped into a body before them, and they get to watch all the experiences that soul is having, but from the elevated vantage point where it's, wow, they're having adventures. So those souls prior to their incarnation, prior to getting dropped in, are so excited because they're like, we're gonna get to have those adventures too. I'm gonna get to think of like your fondest memory. One of my fondest memories, my mom will remember this well. I was 8 years old, and I always wanted to have a pair of cowgirl boots, but not like leather. I mean, not like, I didn't look like I was gonna ride a horse. I wanted a pair of white fringed cowgirl boots, white leather with fringes on them. They looked actually a little bit more like fringed moccasins. God damn it, did I want those fringed boots. And I remember being 8 years old, and my mom had gotten them for me. To this day, all these years later, the feeling I have when I think back to that is nothing but like pure positive emotion. So it's with that same elevated vantage point that these other souls are watching the things that are happening before them, and all of these great experiences that they get to have, and all of these emotions that they get to experience, and then even like the hardships that the souls get to endure. Again, from that elevated vantage point, they're looking at it and they're like, wow, like, did you see how that soul has changed and evolved from all of those experiences that it's had? Like, that's not even the same soul that we were standing next to before it got dropped into the body. Wow, we're gonna get to have those experiences too. So that is the way that these souls, your soul, my soul, all of our souls felt prior to coming into our incarnations, with nothing but excitement and pure positive energy and emotion and intention behind it. Because again, it comes from the elevated vantage point. And it comes not from like, you know the expression, if you're in the forest, you can't see the trees? It's elevated. So while we're going through the things that we are going through, we have a limited view. We have a limited scope of it. And that is by design. Because if we had the elevated vantage point, we again would not have the experiences that we come here to have. Imagine, if you will. So here's actually also why our memory is wiped in between each incarnation. It's a clean slate. Because like we had said, each incarnation has its own varying degrees of ease and discomfort. So think about the current life that you are in right now. Think about of all of the, so-called trials and tribulations that you have had. How many of those do you still carry around with you? How many of those do you feel have left such an indelible impression on you that for whatever reason you feel you cannot let go of it, and that they have forever altered who you are in this incarnation? But imagine having that, not just for one incarnation, but imagine 100 incarnations. Your soul would not even be able to function. You'd be like, why did I agree to come here again? No, I'm just gonna stay in bed, that's it. I'm tapping out, I'm calling God, nope, I'm calling in sick for the rest of my incarnation. I am done. So the wiping of our memory in between incarnations is done so that way we are not carrying around too much baggage. Because baggage from one lifetime is more than enough to try to carry around with you. Try doing it for all of them. Here's another way of looking at it. So imagine you have come to the United States on a holiday. You're from, I don't know, Australia. So you've come to the United States and you're doing a road trip. You are going to land in Maine, which is, I think, the most northeast part of the United States. You're going to do a road trip. You're going to drive through every single one of the 50 states. And in every single one of the 50 states that you are going to, you are getting a souvenir to bring home with you to Australia. At the end of your road trip, where you have accumulated souvenirs from all of those 50 states, you have your suitcase. You have all of your souvenirs. Are they all going to fit inside? So you're loading them in. And then at the end of loading them all in, you close it and you're struggling to rip it. You're opening it back up again and you're moving things around to try to make space so that you can close the suitcase. And then you close the suitcase and you're struggling and you're like, oh, I think I got it. Then you sit on the suitcase to compress it and to squash it in so that you can zipper it back up. And then you get to the airport and they tell you at the airport, your suitcase is over the weight limit. We cannot accommodate. There is no amount of money that you can pay. You know, you get there and they're like, oh, it's overweight. You have to pay us $50. There's no amount of money that you can pay us that we will allow this suitcase to go through. You are trying to bring too much stuff with you. It's exactly like that. You have to unencumber your soul in between incarnations so that way you can get on the plane and you can go to a new destination. It's too much stuff otherwise. That's one of the reasons our memory is wiped in between incarnations. Here's the other one. So you have some experiences. You have some stuff you've gone through. You have some people you've met. You have some more people that you've met. You've created both an accumulation of positive karmic shit and negative karmic shit. You got some stuff that you got to go through to right all of those things or to collect all of the yummy good benefits. But you got to come back. But not when you come back in every incarnation. Is the person that was your mother in one incarnation, are they necessarily going to be a mother in your next incarnation? That person could be maybe like a sister, maybe they're going to be like a brother, maybe they're going to be a lover. Do you really want to have sexual relations with someone when you remember that person to be a parent in a previous incarnation? No. Try thinking about your parents having sex. It's icky. You don't want to go there. Now I can't even. Try thinking about like you're having sex with one of, I can't. You can't. So you are not going to be able to have the fullness of the experiences that you are meant to have with that baggage. If you remembered that shit, but you're meant to have certain experiences with that soul, but in a different configuration, you will not be able to, because you will have the memories of who they were in a previous incarnation. Now, the way that I kind of liken it to is imagine you are at a ball. Think of like, Bridgerton, where they were having all of those different balls in the summer season. Okay. So you're at a ball. And you know how they do all of these different kinds of dances? Some of them are like the waltz. Some of them are I don't even know what they're called, but some of them are faster. Some of them are slower. Some of them involve more handwork. Some of them involve more footwork. Some of them involve switching partners in the middle of the dance. You have all these different dances that you're going to do at the ball. So let's say in your first dance, you are dancing with your mother, right? You go to the ball, you're with your family. At the first dance, you're dancing with your mother. At the second dance, you're dancing with your older brother. At the third dance, you're dancing with your little brother. At the fourth dance, somebody cuts in and they say, can I please have this dance with you? That is what it is like. In any particular incarnation, we are, if you will, dancing with different people at a ball. So not always are you dancing with the same person in the same dance. There's different configurations. I danced the first dance, which was the waltz, with my older brother. I danced the second dance, which was a slower dance, with my father. The third dance, a handsome stranger cut in and danced with me. It's exactly like that. But now, imagine if you will, in the first dance, your brother was being mischievous and he tripped you. Are you going to be so quick to dance with him again? At the end of the night, he wants to come back and he wants to dance with you. And you're like, you know what? I don't want to dance with you again because you tripped me. And I looked really bad and I'm ashamed and I'm embarrassed. I don't want to dance with you again. So your memory is wiped. You don't have the recollection of dancing with all of those people throughout the night or having been tripped by the mischievous brother. So the next time you go into a ball and you get to dance with somebody, you are unencumbered by the memories of who you danced with, what dance, how it went, were you embarrassed, were you not embarrassed. You get to go to the next ball unencumbered, excited to dance at the balls once again. Because we don't get to control, necessarily, who we dance with in what configuration. Now, the reason that I say necessarily is because there is something called soul contracts. And what is a soul contract? It is most akin to, before you get to the ball, you're in the carriage, you're riding on the way to the ball, and you're talking with all of your family members, and you're deciding who you want to dance with and in what order. That is most similar to what a soul contract would be. Mom, I get first dance with you. Dad, I get second dance with you. Third dance, I'm going to sit out because I might be tired by then. Fourth dance, I'm going to dance with my little brother. Fifth dance, I'm going to dance with my little sister. Last dance, it's that mischievous older brother of mine. Sixth dance, we'll have it out before the end of the ball. A soul contract is where you are en route to a ball and you are with the people in any particular soul group, choosing what kind of go you want to have with them. But let's say your mischievous brother, he has a habit of always tripping you in every dance, in every ball, and you just do not want to dance with him any longer. So you make a deal with him up front. You know what? You have a habit of tripping me. I don't want to be tripped anymore. I'm going to dance with you every dance at this ball, and then I will dance with you in no future ball, in no future year, never again. I want to cut out all of the times that you're going to potentially trip me up. That's what a soul contract is. It's where you are designing the experiences that you want to have in an incarnation, so that way you can cut out future incarnations with other people. The way, however, that they tend to manifest in the three-dimensional is not quite so idyllic like I'm making it, like getting tripped in a ball. They can sometimes play out in rather dramatic and rather unfortunate ways. But it's important to remember that the souls that are going through those experiences are the architects of those experiences. They are, if you will, like script writers. Okay? So how does it work in the movie or TV industry? They hire actors, and the actors are just reading lines that somebody else has written for them. And they have no control over how their character is going to be perceived by the audience. They have no control over the lines that they are saying. They are there just to show up and to play a role. That's not what it's like for our souls. We are the script writers as well as the actors, one could say. We are the architects of the experiences we will have in the three-dimensional. So you have that coworker that you simply do not like. You have been on a particular show together for 5 seasons. And every season, the relationship has gotten worse and worse and worse and harder and harder and harder. You do not want to have any more seasons with them. So you agree beforehand, you know what? Let's condense the next 5 seasons that we would have into this show into one season. And then our characters will go their own separate ways and they will not interact any longer. Because we are our own script writers. And that is what a soul contract is. I want to wrap up all future seasons or all future incarnations that I'm going to potentially have to have with you to make amends or to clear up all of this accumulation of karmic shit. I just don't want this to be a long drawn out affair. I don't want to do this for incarnation after incarnation. Let's wrap it up. One time in this incarnation, though it may appear to be playing out in the 3-dimensional very dramatically. So that might be, for example, where you see one spouse killing another spouse. All of the amends that was going to be made over any number of years, it's quite dramatic and it appears quite unfortunate in this lifetime, but it is so that those souls that have agreed to have that experience play out between them can ascend and evolve faster. I just don't want to be on that show any longer with this co-star that is a thorn in my side. So we get together, it's a meeting of the minds prior to us shooting that season, and we work out this is going to be our last season together, and then we will go our separate ways. But you are the architect of your own experiences. Those souls have agreed to have that play out between them so that they can ascend and move on quicker. And they can cut out all of those other incarnations. Imagine, if you will, you are on a very, very, very long journey. You're driving from the east coast of the United States to the west coast of the United States. And it's supposed to take, I don't know how long it actually takes, I'm going to make this up. It's supposed to take 3 weeks. You don't want it to take 3 weeks. You are excited. I just want to get to where I am going. Is there any way that I can make my route shorter? There is. I cannot take the scenic route. I can just take one highway right across and it will make my journey shorter by 50%. Sign me up. It is worth it for the temporary discomfort that I will experience by not having a pretty ride along the way, but I'll get to where I'm going faster. Same exact thing. Because we are the cosmic scriptwriters of our own experiences. That is a soul contract. But free will reigns supreme. We are again not pinballs being dropped into a pinball machine and getting knocked around by life. It is where we are excited to go into that incarnation with the elevated vantage point and all of the adventures and experiences that we are going to have. So we live our life. We pick up an accumulation of some shit that we got to work through. It's up to us in what incarnation we want to work through it. Do we want to work through it? You know, that was a bit gnarly. We had a couple of really, really tough incarnations together. I want this next one. I need a little bit of a reprieve. I need to take a breath. I want that next incarnation to be a little bit easier for me. And then in the next one, we can pick this back up again and we can wrap it up. Or we can pick this back up again and it'll take a couple of lifetimes until we work through it. That's okay. I'll get my reprieve in between. We are the script writers of our own lives. We are not hapless pinballs being dropped into a pinball machine. We made the decision to want to come here to have the experiences that we would have no place else. Because through these experiences that we have, we are refined in a different kind of a way. We are compressed into bodies. Our memory is wiped in between every incarnation, from incarnation to incarnation. It is wiped. We don't know what we're coming back to make amends for. We don't know what goodies we're coming to collect. We don't remember any of it. And then on top of it, it feels like whatever progress we might have made at the end of our life We lose it and we start all over again. But that is, again, without the elevated vantage point. Because from that elevated vantage point, all of this is one big adventure. And not only is it one big adventure, it's temporary as well. So imagine in this lifetime, you watching this, you have survived 100% of all of your hardest days leading up until now. Sure, you've been changed by them, but you've also survived them. It's kind of the same thing. Everything that we experience is temporary. So with that elevated vantage point, we're looking at it like that's just all temporary adventures that that person gets to have. And then through all of those temporary adventures, they are refined. They are, if you will, not maybe the best example, but it's kind of like clay, sculptor's clay. So when we start out in our first incarnation here, we're kind of like that shapeless blob of clay. But then as the master sculptor, which is really us, as that master sculptor is starting to manipulate the clay, and they're softening it up, and they're working through it, and it's starting to take shape. They're building it up, they're turning it into something. And then they're taking away all of the excess parts, right? Maybe they're going to be making what is it, David? The sculpture of David, right? Considered to be one of the most famous pieces of sculpture. So all of that excess material is being taken away. And the master sculptor, us, are actually starting to turn it into something from nothing. And then once we have the general body and the general formation, then we take this tool over here. And then we start to chink away. So we're creating shape, additional shape, more refined shape where there was no shape before. We're starting to chink away. So now here was just a shape of something. It's starting to turn into a thigh. And then they're chinking away down here, and that turns into the leg. And then up here, oh my goodness, they're turning it into abdomen. Oh my goodness, now it has abdominal muscles. Then they take that little tool and they start to just chink away the little places around the eyes to really bring it to life. Our experiences here are not accidental. We are designing all of them for ourselves. It's kind of, if you will, like those books where you can, depending on what option you choose, the story turns out differently. So from lifetime to lifetime, we can be like, I got to page 10, I made option A, I know how that story ended. Now, when I get to page 10 in my next lifetime, I want to choose option B. And I want to see how that incarnation is going to turn out because I'm making such a fundamental different choice. That is what a soul lesson is. A soul lesson is different than a soul contract. A soul contract is something that is worked out between souls. I'm going to dance with you in the first dance. I'm going to dance with you in the second dance. That's a contract. A soul lesson is, I'm choosing option B because I want to have the experience of what that will feel like in that incarnation. So sometimes we will go through an experience that is not connected to another person because that would be a soul contract. We are having experiences that are not connected to another person that will shape us in a different way and can even completely change the course of our life. Soul lesson. So anything that is a big soul arc or big soul lesson that you will experience is something that you, again, because you are the cosmic scriptwriter, something that you have chosen to go through. I just want to try a different ending to this book. I chose option A, I'm choosing option B. Now, you might be wondering then, right? We've talked about soul contracts, something that's worked out with another soul. We've talked about a soul lesson. It's something that we have chosen to take upon ourselves because we want to have the experience of what it's like. Is there room for free will in all of these other lessons? And the answer is unequivocally yes, because free will reigns supreme. So what might that look like? I'm going to give you an example. Maybe not the best one, but it'll prove the point adequately. So again, let's say, again, to go back to this idea, you're getting ready to go to a ball. You know you're going to the ball with your family members. Okay. You're at home getting ready for the ball. So you can decide, what ball gown do I want to wear to the ball tonight? How do I want to wear my hair? What accessories do I want to wear on my body? What shoes do I want to wear? So I already know I'm going with my family and I'm going to have these experiences with them, but everything else prior to and everything even at the ball, free will. So who are you going to talk to at the ball? What are you going to eat at the ball? What are you going to drink at the ball? That handsome stranger standing in the corner wants to interject and ask if he can dance with you. Are you going to say yes or are you going to say no? Do I want to talk to my friend early? Do I want to talk to my friend at the end? That's all free will. So the events of who you're going to dance with and in what order, you've already chosen. You've already agreed. Everything else is free will. Same exact thing in our incarnations. You have worked something out with somebody, you're going to have particular experiences with them. You've agreed that you're going to have a particular soul lesson. There's something notable that your soul is going to go through. Everything else is completely up to you. How you choose to adorn your body, who you are, where you choose to live, what you choose to eat, how you choose to live, that's all free will. But the truly, truly big stuff, you've already agreed to in advance. Okay, now I'm just going to take a quick look down at my notes to make sure that we are still on target and we have not forgotten anything. Okay, so what is the soul? We spoke about that. Why do our souls choose to come here? We spoke about that. Why do we have soul contracts? Yes. Why is our memory wiped from incarnation to incarnation? We spoke about. Can we ever fully leave the earth plane? The answer is yes. Okay. So if you've watched any of my other videos, you will know when I'm channeling somebody's energy, the way in which I can pick up if somebody is still alive or if they have crossed over is, imagine, if you will, it is akin to the fire. Fire from one candle is going to cast a much smaller bit of light, but fire from a torch is going to emit an enormous amount of light. So that's how I can kind of like track, what side are they on? Are they on the earth plane, torch? Or are they on the other side, more like the flame of a candle? I've also said in some videos, the soul essence was so minimal, it's almost like they didn't even come through. And that is when they have finished their reincarnations and they have gone over onto whatever adventures that they are next going to have. They are no longer on the earth. They are no longer on the earth plane. They are no longer even near the earth plane. They've graduated, so to say. They have gone through all of the different karmic loops and all the different experiences. They have made amends for everything they needed to. They've collected all of the benefits that they were going to collect. They've graduated. They have moved on. So while sometimes it can feel like this is a prison planet where we have this such heavy, dense energy, we don't feel like we're ever going to make it out of here. We all eventually do. Again, it's just a very heavy, dense energy. So it slows us down. It slows our progress down. but slow progress does not a prison planet make. So that soul has gone through everything, right? They've lived their life, they've gone through their soul contracts, they've gone through their soul lessons. Now the body is ready to die. What happens to the soul? This is where we are going to explore afterlife. And I'm going to read from my notes here because this is the most recently channeled information that has come in, and I want to make sure that I do not leave anything out. So the afterlife was shown to me as a bazaar, not something that is bizarre, a bazaar, kind of like a flea market, if you will. It's a cosmic flea market. So what happens in this cosmic flea market? There are different stations, right? There's like different booths. There's different vendors that you can go to when you're at the flea market, kind of like that. So there are different stations that one can go to and explore. One is where they can visit with loved ones that have passed over before them. Another is to be healed. Another is to receive, to see all the mysteries of the universe. Another is where they can merge with universal consciousness. Another is where they can be with God. Another is where they can be healed. Another is where you can see your life like it is a movie. And you can also see all of the major lessons that you had agreed to experience from an elevated vantage point. You can also see how they have connected to previous incarnations. Another is where you can see things through a telescope, if you will, where you are seeing the behind the veil component. So there is just so much that a soul can do on the other side. They are far from bored. Now, the souls also no longer have a body. So they are experiencing a sense of renewal and expansion. Because the boundless energy that we actually already are is now no longer being compressed into that too tight pair of shoes, but you have taken your foot out of the shoe and you are feeling the expansion once again. Especially the old people that are coming from a body that was breaking down, where they might have had limitations, they might have been sick, they could have had like mobility issues. They have now been set free. So the feeling that they have is one of buoyancy and lightness, as they are no longer squashed and compressed into bodies until they're on the other side, they didn't remember that they don't quite really feel like they fit in. Plus, they no longer have all of the ailments that they had crossed over with. So yes, the old people like the feeling a lot. It is a feeling of renewal and feeling free for them. There's no more aches and pains, no more arthritis, just freedom. The incredible thing truly about the other side is the sense of ease, as it is nothing but pure positive energy. No one is in a bad mood. There are no traffic jams. There are no going to jobs that we do not like. There are no struggling to pay off credit card bills. There are no dealing with coworkers that we can't stand. It's nothing but ease and love. And this was, once I had actually tapped into it, it felt like, and for any moms out there, you will completely know what this feels like. You know that feeling when, especially if you are bonded right when your baby is born, you know when you first lay eyes on your baby, that feeling of awe and that feeling of love and that feeling of, oh my God. It's kind of like that feeling, but it's not where we are feeling it for others. It's where we have that feeling directed at us. It's, imagine, if you will, the baby being born and feeling all of that love directed at them from their mother. We are being reunited with God on the other side. So we are experiencing that feeling of love. So it is very much the moment you meet your baby and the incredible surge of love that we feel for our baby, but it is the feeling of it being directed at us too, not just where we are directing it at our child. So we feel that love, that magnificent sense of love all around us, beaming at us like rays of the sun and warming us. Because on the other side and in the presence of God, there is nothing but love. All of the human emotions fall away. There is no anger, there is no hatred, there is no jealousy, there is no disdain, there is no contempt, there is no fear, there is no emotion but love. All the time, being beamed directly at you. Now, the reason for all of the different stations that one can visit is so that the soul has free will, even on the other side. Free will reigns supreme. So it's not like you get there and you're being shuffled or escorted and it's like, oh, you're here, great, we got to take you to meet somebody. No, you get to go to the other side. You've just gone into the flea market, you're looking around, you're getting a sense, you want to get a lay of the land, you're seeing all of the different vendors and you're like, you know what, I want to go to that one first. When I'm done with that one, I want to go to that one. It's the same thing. Everything is laid out for the soul to have the experience of hopping around and seeing different things. Most souls, however, it was shown to me, do want to see the loved ones that have crossed over prior to them. Especially if a family member was not necessarily there to meet them. So once they are reunited, they like to spend their initial time there with them. If you've lost a loved one, you know the excitement that you will feel that you get to see that person again on the other side. So what was shown to me is most people do want to spend time with their loved ones that have crossed over and are on the other side first and foremost. Now, there is also no sense of time on the other side, right? We had touched on that earlier on. So you can be at a station for 10 minutes, 10 years, 1,000 years, it all feels the same. There's no sense of time on the other side. So 10 minutes or 10 years are both the same. There is no set order in which somebody has to explore. It's not like, we have set aside 10 minutes for you to be at this station, and then you got to quickly go to the next station. You only have 10 more minutes there, and then you have another 10 minutes here. No. It's a sense of ease, remember? However long you want to be at whatever station, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Just be. It's not like you're on the freeway racing to get to work on time. It's just a sense of ease. It's like being in a raft, just lazily going around what do they call those places? Lazy rivers, whatever they're called at like pool parks or theme parks, whatever they are. You're just in the lazy river. You're in your raft, living your best little life, just going around, taking everything in. At some point, the soul, however, will get to the station where they watch their last incarnation play out like a movie. This is where they can fast forward, rewind, pause, and see everything notable that was happened, but from an elevated vantage point. So they can see the purpose in it. Oh, that's why I chose for that soul lesson. I got it now. Got it. I see exactly why I had that encounter with that person. It makes so much sense now. Again, it's not like if you're, what is the expression? You can't see the forest through the trees. You got the elevated vantage point. You're in the helicopter. You can see every individual tree and you can see how it makes up every piece in the forest. Elevated vantage point once you're on the other side. You can see what was a soul lesson, what was a soul contract. You can get to do, if you will, a postmortem of that particular incarnation. And because the souls do not have any of the heavy, dense human emotions, they will not be triggered by watching it through. It feels more like watching a movie just about people that you used to know. You're watching a movie of your life play out. You can do a post-mortem on it. You're not triggered by it. You're not reactive to it. It's like watching a movie of people you used to know. You just happen to have also been in that movie. At some point too, the soul will get to meet or be with God. And at this time, they can choose, they can ask anything they want to. They can say anything they want to. Any burning questions that a soul can have, they can ask it at that time. However, what was shown to me is most souls just choose to sit and be with God. They get to bask in that feeling of oneness. So while they have the option to ask any questions, all of that melts away in God's presence as the soul just sits there with God to soak up the feeling of oneness. There is no feeling of division, no separation, no exclusion, no differences. There is just a feeling of being one with God. It is a true and complete union. And it is hard to leave being with God. And many souls choose not to. They choose to stay there. They want to exist next to God in that feeling of oneness, in that feeling of perfect union, harmony, and completion. However, after being with God and being healed by God, the soul that has visited God and all of the subsequent stations can then next choose to decide if they want to come back into another incarnation, if they want to stay nearby to the loved ones that they still have here, or if they want to come back as a guardian angel or a guide to a loved one. So I actually have a lot of clients who they have maternal grandmothers that are always with them as a guide, or they're looking over them like a guardian angel. So that's when the soul of that grandmother has gone through all of the different stations at the bazaar. She's done everything. She's been healed by God. She's like, you know what? I really want to be there for this soul. I want to check in on them. I want to make sure they're going to be okay. I'm not ready to be reincarnated again. I want to stick close to the earth realm. I want to keep an eye on them. They can choose to do that. Or they can choose to be reincarnated again. Or if they've finished up all of their soul's work, they can just graduate and go someplace else. Or they choose to stick around and be with us. So if you feel like your loved ones are with you, it's because they are, with an elevated vantage point. So again, because many of the souls choose not to leave God, but do, like we all have watching this video, we've all chosen to come back and have another go and have another incarnation here, where we come back and we get squashed and compressed into our bodies and to having all of our memories wiped once again, to lose, because you can't ever really lose what's yours, but to lose all of the progress that we think that we have made, to come back to all of the life lessons, to the new accumulation of karmic shit, and mostly to step away from God once again, is truly the most gangster, badass decision a soul can make. So I'm gonna end the video here, which is to say, if you're here and you're watching this, you are fucking badass. You stepped away from God. You got squashed into this body. You're gonna go through trials and tribulations once again. And you are absolutely a badass and incredible for making that choice. And what a blessing it is to have chosen to wake up in this incarnation. So celebrate that. You're here. You're a badass. celebrate that. As always, guys, I hope that you have found this video to be interesting or informative or thought-provoking, and take what resonates, leave the rest behind, and as always, until next time, stay in the high vibration.